Good morning. I'm here with Devon Buse. Are we recording? Are we on?
We're on.
I'm going to start again. Okay. Good morning. I'm here with Devon Buse, and he is a local artist. I came upon some of his work on a Facebook page here locally called DeKalb Happenings, and I saw his art, and I was so stricken with it and the story behind it that I felt like other people may want to hear the story and what he's doing. And so we've got some of the art right here, and we will share it with you as we discuss it. Devon, first, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell me your background and how this whole project started.
Yeah, so I'm actually currently going to school at NIU, and I'm a journalism major. And so my primary emphasis is that I'm doing is photography and marketing. And so one of the biggest things that really struck out to me while I was walking, I live not too far away from one of these locations that I have inputted into the project. And I basically watched as it was in operational for a little bit there, and then it closed down. And then about a few more months later, there was, a fence up, and and I found out a little bit, dug a little bit more deeper, and found out it's been sitting vacant there for a couple of years.
Yeah. So which one was that?
The Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you know what? Since we're talking about it, I'm going to share that right now. Let me see.
And I did try their pizza, and it was not good. It was not good.
Yes. Yeah. So can you see that image of the Pizza Hut?
Yes, I can see it.
I do. I really love these images. So I love that you've got this dramatic contrast of, I guess I really appreciate seeing the beauty in everyday things. And that's not exactly what your goal was, though. What was your path here? Because it sounded like it got a little bit deeper. It got into COVID-19. It got into light and dark. And it sounded like you were taking evening images before, right?
Yes, so I have one of them in there. That's an evening image on those bottom shots. And I was actually taking light trails. I didn't include the light trails in these images, but I took downtown off of First and Lincoln Highway there of the mural. I was taking shots that were pretty dramatic and really cool looking, and like as far as like the ghosting of cars and the light trails. But I felt that it really took away from the buildings and the image itself. So I really wanted to draw people in by just capturing just the building itself, even at night.
Yeah, and so which building is this? This is Lord Stanley's, right? So looking at this image, has a lot of meaning for me. And I haven't lived in DeKalb for very long, but I've certainly been to Lord Stanley's a good number of times. And it's not the most attractive building. Like there's no, hold on one second. There's no going around that. It's not a very attractive building. We're not going to lie about it, right? It's not like it's pretty. It's not like there's a lot going on there, but I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Leo, honey, you can't make ramen noodle right now. No. Then you need to find something quieter to make, okay? Love you, no. Okay, sorry about that, Devon. So yeah, it's not a gorgeous building. Like there's no buts about it, okay? But I love that you decided to capture it because I think for a lot of people this is a very meaningful building, and just to have a picture of a building that's significant to you, I think is really important. So, all right, what's next? What should we look at next?
Well, you can just go start with the first image.
Okay.
In the series with the downtown.
Okay, there we are. All right.
So this was actually taken a little bit later, and this is during COVID-19. and you can just see how, you know, the streets are very barren. And this is taken about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. That's why you see the shadows from building. And, you know, it just kind of gives you a really glimpse of what we're going through right now in this pandemic. And all these shop owners really don't have much business because they're not able to, a lot of them are like non-essential businesses. And in order to shop at these locations, you actually have to go inside. And so it's almost virtually impossible to be able to shop in these locations. And we have a few, you know, salons too, the nail salons that are not even operational right now.
Yeah, and I love this image too. The light and the dark is really dramatic. Okay, should I move on to the next one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell us about this.
Yeah, so this is just another shot of Pizza Hut and just kind of going into, you know, the zoning commission had, and I found this out, you know, later on, that the Planning and Zoning Commission had first initialized this 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming, and I haven't followed up and see where they're currently at with this location, but it's still desolate. I mean, weeds were growing up, you know, and thought, like, what's happening to this building? We don't know.
Right, right. No, it's really interesting because as I'm getting my master's in public policy and administration, and one of the things that I'm learning is that the inefficiency of government is not necessarily it's actually a feature of government, not a downside of government, which is really sort of shocking when you first hear it. But you realize that, you know, we don't want to go off half-cocked, so to speak. So yes, I'm not sure where exactly they're at with this, but yeah, it's frustrating as a bystander to be like, can we make this prettier? But then also, I really appreciate your image. You know, any child who's ever stuck their face up to a chain link fence, you know, it captures some of that experience. So, okay, and then we've got this beautiful house.
Yeah, so this is actually a house I just that I noticed that Armored Technology has just recently occupied, and just thinking about this historical value, like this is built, you know, before the 1900s, so it's one of the first buildings to be basically downtown DeKalb.
Right. Have you heard that across the street from it sounds like there was one very similar?
No, I have not.
Right. So that's what I have heard, that I apologize, I can't remember if it's a Walgreens or CVS across the street, but it sounds like at some point there was one very similar across the street that was replaced with the Walgreens, which is a shame. So, you know, I really appreciate you drawing attention to these older buildings so that we recognize their value. It's really important to me. Okay. And then we've got this one, the House Cafe.
So this one actually closed down a year ago in April, and I didn't actually ever visit here because I was mostly commuting to school until I moved, you know, about a little over a year and a half ago. So I didn't really get a chance to, you know, visit the house, but I heard it was a really awesome spot for students, and we don't really have that now downtown. As far as like the music is concerned, I mean, there's a few bars, but nothing as substantial as what I've heard this was.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I did have the chance to visit the House Cafe a number of times, and they did lots of cool different things. I remember we had a radio show that came to the House Cafe one day, and of course at the same time they were holding a salsa class or something, and so I took part in the salsa class while I waited for my radio spot, and it was a lot of fun. They really did lots of cool, creative, different things, like yoga and beer at the same. I think they had yoga and beer, and maybe now across the street they've got yoga and beer. But you know, those sorts of combinations were really attractive to me. But as a, you know, I'm a mother of 4 children, so I don't get to go out as much as, you know, younger people do maybe, um but yeah, I loved it. And they hosted drag shows there and lots of great things. It was really a staple of the community, and it is heartbreaking to see it shuttered like this. And they did come to city council and ask for the owners of the House Cafe, or of maybe of the business, came to city council, and we discussed a project they were considering for a new brewery. And I, you know, I regret so much that we didn't make the project work, you know. And so that's sort of what I keep in mind as we move forward with other city and TIF projects. I'm like, okay, uh, we want to make sure that we talk it through enough with the owners, with the project planners, to make sure that the project doesn't fall through. And I don't know, I don't think that when the last time we heard from this group, I don't think that any of the city council expected that they weren't going to be able to do the project if we had not supported them. And I think if we had known that, that really could have changed the conversation. And so yeah, it's really heartbreaking to see this building shut down, especially when it had been such a vibrant spot.
Yeah, and I don't think it's this particular building, but it might be this building, was also, was this the pharmacy as well? Or am I thinking something different?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm
Yeah.
not sure, but okay. And I, I like it's both sad. So this image feels both sad to me and absolutely captivating. You know, it's capturing this very active place. So if you went by this place anytime in the evening, it was just bustling, you know. And the doors, they always left the doors wide open. And out front, I think they had like some serious mosaic tile work that was just so beautiful on the ground as you walked in. And in the windows were typically full of all sorts of advertisements for all sorts of things. And you know, the owner wasn't even like, he wasn't afraid to be political, and he would put up the political signs, and, you know, which always warmed my heart. And he had like the Metro to DeKalb sign in there, like pushing for that. And so it was a very modern, young, vibrant place. And there were not any others like it downtown. So seeing it in this form, in this image that you have, knowing what it was, is really just, it's sad, but it's also happy because I know the history of it. I know what a happy place it was. I know how much joy was experienced there, you know? So, all right, next one.
So this is actually common ground, just the reason why I got the idea of naming my project Common Ground. Just because it's a lot of these buildings have a historical significance for people, and it can bring people together in conversation. And I noticed that when just uploading all the images, and I was uploading it as I was getting done with the project with the images, so I kind of threw them up there to see what happens. And I actually had my meeting with my professor yesterday. And you know, just seeing like some of the people recollecting on their past memories is kind of even creating those common grounds, and like, hey, are you this person? Or hey, is your brother this person? So it's kind of reconnecting the community, even if they're people that have moved away from the community, and just start looking for, you know, images of the community. And I've already had a request from somebody to take a picture of a particular spot, and that was over where Ideal Industries is located, and that's I guess there was an old clothing factory, so they made clothes, and a lot of people worked there. And this particular person requested, because she has some living relatives that used to work there, and she used to work there, she wants me to take pictures. So I was like, yes, I can do that. Just gotta give me some time so I can get done with finals. And
That's amazing. No, and I think like so often we glorify, you know, truly beautiful, substantial buildings, but you know, we in that we neglect these buildings that are the fabric of our everyday lives. And that's what I think is so beautiful about these. Like, I'm getting goosebumps, like just thinking about Ideal Industries, like you're saying, like that building, it's a very plain building, but it has a culture and a flavor to itself, one. And then two, like if you worked there every day, the attachment that you grow to that space, you recognize like, this is where I spent most of my life. It's almost like a picture of your house. It's that intimate for you. So that's awesome. And I was going to ask you, well, okay, two things. Don't let me forget before I skip on to the next picture. One, where and when is this series going to be displayed? And two, I got to ask you about Common Grounds. Okay, so first question.
Okay, so you're asking where this is going to be displayed?
Yeah, is anybody displaying this? If not, like I feel like these should be in City Hall. Like this is a beautiful collection.
Yes, actually, all these images are 13 by 19, so I plan to put them out on 13 by 19 sheets of paper. I already have the paper, I just need the ability to print. So I've already printed a lot last semester. I printed a lot, and I printed a little this semester, but unfortunately, because of the coronavirus, it shut down. So I still have some credits with the photo lab department, and I'll be able to take, if it opens up, next semester, I'll be able to print. Otherwise, I'll find a printing lab to print these.
Awesome. And I saw somebody saying in the chain of communication where you shared all of the pictures originally, I saw them asking if you had developed your own dark room in your bathroom.
Yeah, I have not yet. My plan is to at least be able to develop some of the film that I have.
Mm-hmm.
I still have, a couple rolls of film that I haven't used yet. So yeah, I've got a Olympus camera, and people have been like, "Hey, I got cameras. Can I send them to you?" Sure, you can send them to me, and I'll try them out. One actually has multiple lenses, and extenders, so it definitely gives me a variety of different shots that I can take with it. And yeah, just kind of experimenting. Eventually, get to that point, but for now.
No, that's awesome. My dad was actually a photographer growing up. So he had a dark room in our basement that was like a full room size. And I remember he had all the different buckets of chemicals that he would, take to process his photos. So I guess photography has been a big part of my life, my entire life. And I've never taken a shot at it. But so as far as Common Grounds goes, though, have you met Jeff, the owner?
Yes, I met Jeff.
Okay.
Understand the context, what he's doing here, and the whole reason why he kind of named it Common Grounds.
Yes.
And one of the biggest things is human trafficking is one of the biggest things that people probably don't have on their back of their minds of what's happening with that. And I know Rockford, Illinois, so we're not too far away from a location which is one of the highest hit communities to human trafficking. And
yeah, that's hard.
Yeah,
Well,
it is. And I think before he was doing, church, I think, in this building, and then he decided just to go the coffee shop route and build community. And then, you can still share the gospel inside of the, coffee shop as he's working. And he's always open up to many art projects. So it doesn't really matter where, what you have, he's willing to open it up at like no cost to the different community. So I think it's like one of the best things. And even before COVID-19 hit, there was some sort of art, thing going on, the weekend prior to that. So there's a really good place for people to hang out and to be able to express their art. And I actually have artwork inside that I had created for him, and it was kind kind of this depiction of human trafficking of this female coming to grips with coming out of the state that she was in. And when approaching that project, I had some people come to me that were sexually assaulted and were willing to help me out in the project. And one's like, I can't do it, human trafficking, like I can't be there. However, if you need help, let me know. And she said that her mom was a counselor and had said that, depicting the reality would probably not be the best option because you don't want to have people relapse into what they went through, even in sexual assault. So I decided, okay, well, that's pretty good, something to know about. So I made it so it was more positive, this transition from, so you can actually view that whenever it opens back up, you can view that, and it's straight on the back wall. As soon as you order, you can see it on that wall.
Wow,
So
that's awesome.
20.
Yeah, that sounds phenomenal. So last thing I'm going to say about Common Grounds is the nonprofit. So I love going there, and it's sort of, yeah, it means a lot to me, and I think it means a lot to the community. So, all right, next. Let's see. City Hall.
Yes. So this is actually City Hall, the First National Bank, and actually here was where the Chamber of Commerce was, and they originally just moved back in just towards the end of last year. They moved. So just thinking about the ability to almost transform and make it different. And I actually, since I've been in this building, it's pretty neat. Like you can see the whole big vault in the back with the old old school bank, and it's really cool to see because you don't really get to go into many of those banks.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's beautiful inside, and the exterior, while in person I'd say is more, in person it has more of an impressive air, and here it still looks pretty humble. You can see like it could probably use a good pressure washing, and so it is technically not City Hall yet, but the intent is, I believe, to move City Hall there. The city manager said last night at the city council meeting to move it there on May 15th, moving workers permitting, but perhaps that'll happen at some point. But yeah, it's just gorgeous inside. It does kind of take your breath away when you go in. And in person, it feels more, less humble. This looks like a humble image of a building that may be past its prime, but in person, I think it's really an impressive building. And so I really appreciate you capturing it this way because I don't know, not to make a dramatic analogy, but I'm gonna. So I started going to the VA, the Veterans Administration, for healthcare when I got out of the Marine Corps. So in doing that, in some of my first visits, I would go and I would bring my little kids, and my kids were, in strollers and very high maintenance then. And I would go in, and I just remember watching all of these, I was a rare female in the space. Everybody else was primarily male, and watching all of these men who were, in their 60s, 70s, 80s, walking around the halls of the Veterans Administration building and sort of observing them in their most humble state at the point when they needed the most care, at the point when they were asking for something, basically. All these men who at one point had been willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for their country. All these men who were young and healthy and strong and vibrant, and oh so capable, just a flash before in, their mind's eye. And so I just remember seeing them all in such a humbled state, but also respecting them so deeply in the sense that, you know, they were really strong at heart, you know, and had been strong physically once. And yeah, this building sort of gives me the very same feeling, that feeling of, you know, just humble pride, you know.
Yeah.
All right, I'll get on to the next one. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, there's the Pizza Hut we discussed.
Yeah. So, yeah, one of the biggest things that, you know, I chose this one was because of the fact that, you know, I have the chain link fence all the way up to the left, and as you go down to the bottom right, you see more sky. So it's kind of like this emphasis of, you know, hope, you know, even in the midst of something that's so kind of depressing, you know, because there's not a building there. We do have another Pizza Hut, of course, that's takeout, that's in the DeKalb, but it's a different location, and this is still in a pretty good prime spot for something to be there.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and I love that message of hope. And that was the message that I was like, yeah, I got to talk to this guy. I got to see what his art's all about. So, oh, and here's this one. This is gorgeous.
Yeah, so this is, I found a little bit about this, this was actually, the Pleasant Street factory was actually a piano factory. And my grandfather worked in a piano factory, and he was actually, had about 3 women or so underneath him as his workers. You know, he was a supervisor of them, and he and my parents currently have him now, but he took home a lot of, you know, piano rolls. So we have like almost every single piano roll that was created. And
what's a piano roll?
And that piano factory is actually in Oregon, Illinois.
What's a piano roll?
Roll. So a piano roll is what you put into a player piano, okay. And literally it's got a bunch of
bumps.
little bumps, basically to indicate which keys are going to be playing. So it's pretty easy to do. All you have to do is put the roll in, you bring it down, and then you gotta like tighten it a little bit so that way it stays on the roll, and you literally just pull the lever and it'll start playing.
Wow, that's amazing. So I think I had like a little music box like that one time when I was a kid. It was like crank lever, and basically the roll would spin and cause the keys to play, right? And sometimes you'll see that in old-timey movies. So cool, very cool.
So they actually created pianos evidently here at the Pleasant Street factory. And right now there's, I can't remember what the company is, but there's currently a company occupying that building. As you can see, just by the glimpse of the light, I was like, there's a light on in there. It's kind of eerie. The state of the building. And I don't know, I think it looks like there's a bunch of storage downstairs. I can't really tell what's in there. I haven't been in there. I think it'd be awesome to take pictures in there.
I'll have to see who owns it. I don't know, or what business is over there. I'll have to go check it out. Yeah. Very interesting.
If it's the same business that was presumably there a year ago, I'm assuming it's the same business, and it's actually like attached. Like if you go down further east, there's like a logo there on the building. It's they make, I guess they do something with making like comforters or something like that. So okay. I'm not really sure if that's true or not, but that's the same company that's in there.
Very nice. Okay, I'm going to switch on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gorgeous. And then we're getting brighter here too.
Yeah, so this is kind of basically the end of the series that I chose, just kind of like chose the sense of hope. And, you know, Just for Kicks is something, is what they teach kids, like dance. And so just thinking about that, you know, and this is a repurposed building for a dance studio. I just thought that would be a really good final image to kind of think about, you know, when you're dancing, you're kind of enjoying yourselves and deals with kids, you know, so it kind of brightens up the whole series.
That's awesome. No, I had not realized at all that this was repurposed. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it says, like, if you see the sign on the right, it says just for kicks.
Ah,
So
yes.
I'm assuming that's what's in there. Obviously, that sign wouldn't be there, and the logo is also on the building.
Very nice. Awesome. Well, fantastic. I think we went a little bit longer than I expected to, Devon. I so appreciate your work, and I'm so glad that you chose to feature all these DeKalb businesses and organizations and the architecture. And I think that that's really exciting. I I think I haven't heard DeKalb that I can remember doing architectural tours, but I think I'd love to hear an architectural tour done by somebody who knows more than I do. But yeah, that's fantastic. So you're saying you've got to print these out and hopefully we can view them somewhere someday?
Correct. That'd be
Okay.
cool to do that.
All right. Well, I'm wondering how we can help support you do that and help make sure that this artwork that symbolizes our community gets the appropriate level of recognition it deserves. So,
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor, Carolyn.
absolutely. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Okay. Thank you all so much for coming today. Again, this is Devon Buse, and we just discussed his art. And he's got a website. What is the website called, Devon? Can you tell us?
Yes, so my website it's kind of tricky. It's DeKalbSycamore.areanewsandevents.com, and I also have my website that eventually will be, I'll be putting some more artwork on there, is devonboost.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Devon.